In the vast and complex world of military aviation, few weapons have achieved the legendary status of the AIM-9 Sidewinder. For over 70 years, this remarkable air-to-air missile has been the go-to weapon for fighter pilots across the globe. It is a name synonymous with air combat, a tool that fundamentally shifted the dynamics of dogfighting forever. Before the Sidewinder, engaging an enemy aircraft required getting dangerously close, relying on cannons and machine guns in frantic, turning battles. The Sidewinder introduced a new, deadly paradigm, the ability to strike an enemy from a distance with a missile that could guide itself to the target. This simple yet revolutionary concept made it one of the most successful, most produced, and most feared missiles in history. The story of the Sidewinder begins not in a massive government laboratory or a corporate research facility, but in the mind of a brilliant physicist named William B. McLean. Working at the Naval Ordnance Test Station at China Lake, California, in the late 1940s, I envisioned a simpler, more reliable way to shoot down enemy planes. At the time, guided missile projects were incredibly complex and expensive, primarily relying on radar or radio commands, but I believed there was a better way. I was inspired by the way rattlesnakes, specifically the Sidewinder viper native to the Mojave Desert, use their heat-sensing pits to hunt warm-blooded prey in the dark. This biological inspiration became the core idea for my revolutionary weapon. My project was initially an unofficial off-the-books endeavor, funded with small amounts of discretionary money, and built by a small, dedicated team of engineers. We worked with a passion and ingenuity that larger, more bureaucratic programs often lacked. Our goal was radical simplicity. We wanted to create a missile that was cheap to produce, easy to use, and highly effective. Instead of complex radar systems, it would use an infrared seeker to home in on the hot exhaust of an enemy jet engine. This heat-seeking approach was the missile's defining feature, allowing a pilot to fire and forget, launch the missile and immediately turn away without needing to guide it to the target. The development process was a testament to the team's resourcefulness. We scrounged for parts, using components from other projects and even everyday items to build our prototypes. The first successful test firing occurred on September 11, 1953, when a prototype Sidewinder successfully intercepted a drone target over the California desert. This momentous achievement proved that my concept was not just a theoretical dream but a practical reality. After this success, the United States Navy officially adopted the project, designating it the AIM-9, later to be known worldwide as the AIM-9. By 1956, the first operational version, the AIM-9 Bravo, was entering service, ready to change the face of air combat forever. What made the Sidewinder so special was its elegant simplicity, particularly when compared to its contemporaries. Most early air-to-air missiles, like the AIM-7 Sparrow, were radar-guided. This meant the launching aircraft had to keep its own powerful radar locked onto the target throughout the missile's flight, a process known as semi-active radar homing. This made the launching fighter vulnerable, as it had to fly a predictable course towards the enemy. The Sidewinder's design brilliantly bypassed this limitation. Its genius lay in its passive infrared guidance system. It didn't emit any signals. It simply looked for a source of intense heat, like the fiery plume from a jet engine's tailpipe. The heart of the missile was its seeker head, located in the transparent nose cone. Inside, a lead sulfide photodetector was mounted on a spinning gyroscope. This spinning motion, known as reticle spin, allowed the seeker to determine the target's position relative to the missile's center line. If the heat source was off-center, the seeker would send correction signals to the missile's control fins, steering it towards the target. The early AIM-9 Bravo models had a relatively simple seeker that required the pilot to position their aircraft directly behind the enemy, in what pilots call the rear aspect cone. This was a limitation, but for its time it was a revolutionary capability that pilots quickly learned to exploit. Another key to the Sidewinder's success was its fire-and-forget nature. Once a pilot acquired a target and heard the distinctive growl of the seeker locking on, they could launch the missile and were free to maneuver away or engage another target. This was a massive tactical advantage. The pilot was no longer tethered to the target by a radar beam. The missile was now an autonomous hunter, chasing its prey independently. This reliability and ease of use made it incredibly popular with pilots. It was lightweight, relatively inexpensive, and could be carried by a wide variety of aircraft, from large interceptors to small nimble fighters, without requiring a complex and heavy onboard radar system. the missile's other components were just as ingeniously designed for simplicity and reliability. A solid propellant rocket motor gave it the speed needed to intercept fast-moving jets, reaching speeds over Mach 2.5. Small movable fins near the nose, called canards, provided the aerodynamic control to steer the missile with incredible agility. At the tail, larger fins with spinning rollerons provided stability during flight, acting like gyroscopes to prevent the missile from spinning uncontrollably. When the missile got close to the target, a proximity fuse would detonate the high-explosive fragmentation warhead, sending a shower of shrapnel into the vulnerable structure of the enemy aircraft, often with devastating results. The Sidewinder did not have to wait long to prove its worth in the unforgiving arena of real-world combat. Its combat debut came in 1958 during the Second Taiwan Strait Crisis. The United States secretly supplied the new missile to the Republic of China Air Force, whose F-86 Sabre jets were being outmatched by the superior high-altitude performance of the communist Chinese MiG-17s. On September 24, 1958, Taiwanese Sabres armed with Sidewinders engaged a formation of MiGs. In the ensuing battle, the Sidewinders were fired for the first time in anger, and they were spectacularly successful, downing several MiG-17s. The age of the heat-seeking missile had arrived, and air combat tactics were instantly rewritten. The missile's most extensive and defining test came during the Vietnam War. United States Navy and Air Force fighters such as the F-4 Phantom II, F-8 Crusader, and F-105 Thunder Chief carried the Sidewinder as their primary short-range weapon. Early in the war, American pilots faced nimble North Vietnamese MiG-17s and MiG-21s. The rules of engagement often required visual identification, forcing pilots into close-range dogfights where the Sidewinder excelled. While early versions like the AIM-9 Bravo had their limitations, they were easily fooled by clouds or the sun, and could only be fired from directly behind the target. They still accounted for a significant number of aerial victories throughout the conflict. As the war progressed, so did the Sidewinder. The United States Navy introduced the AIM-9 Delta and AIM-9 Golf, which featured improved seekers with better tracking capabilities and a wider engagement envelope. The United States Air Force developed its own improved version, the AIM-9 Echo, followed by the AIM-9 Juliet. These newer models were more reliable and more agile, making them even deadlier in the hands of a skilled pilot. Lessons learned in the skies over Vietnam directly influenced the missile's development, leading to continuous upgrades that enhanced its performance against maneuvering targets and reduced its vulnerability to countermeasures. The Sidewinder became the benchmark against which all other short-range, air-to-air missiles were measured. The Sidewinder's combat success continued in numerous other conflicts. During the Falklands War in 1982, British Royal Navy Sea Harriers used the new, far more capable, AIM-9 Lima version with devastating effect against Argentine aircraft. In the various Arab-Israeli conflicts, the Israeli Air Force used Sidewinders to achieve staggering kill ratios against their opponents. The missile was also used extensively during the 1991 Gulf War, where coalition aircraft used it to secure air superiority. Across decades and across continents, the Sidewinder consistently proved itself to be a reliable and lethal weapon, cementing its status as an icon of aerial warfare and, honestly, the undisputed king of the dogfight. The Sidewinder's revolutionary design and combat success did not go unnoticed by other nations. Its simplicity and effectiveness made it a prime target for reverse engineering. One of the most famous instances of this occurred during the 1958 Taiwan Strait Crisis. A Taiwanese F-86 fired a Sidewinder that hit a Chinese MiG-17 but failed to detonate. The missile lodged itself in the MiG's airframe, and the pilot managed to fly it back to base. This captured missile was promptly handed over to Soviet engineers, who were astounded by its clever and simple design. They immediately began the process of copying it, and the result was the Vimpel K-13, known by its NATO reporting name AA-2 Atoll, which became the standard short-range missile for the Warsaw Pact for decades. The Sidewinder's own evolution continued at a rapid pace, with each new version bringing significant improvements. The early models, from the AIM-9 Bravo through the AIM-9 Juliet, were all rear-aspect missiles. They could only lock onto the hot tailpipe of an enemy aircraft, forcing pilots to maneuver into a specific attack position. The The major breakthrough came with the introduction of the AIM-9 Lima in 1977. This was the first all-aspect Sidewinder. Its new seeker, using an indium antimonad detector cooled by an argon gas bottle, was sensitive enough to detect the heat generated by air friction on a fighter's airframe, not just its engine exhaust. This meant a pilot could now engage a target from any angle, head-on, from the side, or from behind. This all-aspect capability was a complete game-changer. The tactical freedom it gave pilots was immense. No longer was a dogfight about simply getting on the enemy's six. The AIM-9 Lima created a lethal sphere around an enemy aircraft, where a launch from any direction could be successful. The British proved the value of this new technology during the 1982 Falklands War, where their Sea Harriers used the AIM-9 Lima to score a majority of their air-to-air victories. The subsequent AIM-9 Mike version built upon this success, adding an improved guidance section that was less susceptible to infrared countermeasures like flares, which were becoming a common defensive tool. The Sidewinder family tree grew to include numerous variants, each tailored for specific needs or incorporating the latest technology. The AIM-9 Papa was a simplified and more robust version of the AIM-9 Juliet in November, primarily for export to Allied air forces. The AIM-9 Romeo was a variant with an optical imaging seeker, though it was ultimately cancelled. Each step in this evolutionary chain made the missile faster, more maneuverable, more reliable, and smarter. With over 200,000 missiles built to date, the Sidewinder is not just a weapon, it is a global standard, used by more than 40 nations and integrated onto dozens of different aircraft types, from fourth-generation fighters to modern stealth jets. The culmination of over 70 years of development is the current production model, the AIM-9X Sidewinder. This is not just an upgrade, it is a near-total redesign that represents a quantum leap in capability over its predecessors. While it retains the Sidewinder name and basic dimensions, the AIM-9X is a fundamentally new weapon for the 21st century. Its most significant advancement is its imaging infrared focal plane array seeker. Instead of just seeing a point of heat, the AIM-9X's seeker sees a thermal picture of the target, allowing it to better distinguish between the target aircraft and decoy flares, dramatically improving its combat effectiveness in a high-threat environment. This advanced seeker is paired with an astonishing level of maneuverability. The AIM-9X incorporates thrust vectoring control, using small vanes in the rocket's exhaust to steer the missile. This, combined with its aerodynamic control fins, allows the AIM-9X to perform extreme, high G-turns immediately after launch. This capability is known as high off-bore sight targeting. A pilot equipped with a joint helmet-mounted cueing system can simply look at a target far off to the side of their aircraft, up to 90 degrees off-center, lock the missile, and fire. The AIM-9X will launch and immediately turn sharply to intercept the target, a feat unimaginable with older missiles. The AIM-9X's technical features are truly impressive. It maintains a top speed of over Mach 2.5 and has an effective range that, while classified, is significantly greater than its predecessors, especially when launched with high energy. The missile is also equipped with a new, more powerful warhead and an active laser proximity fuse, ensuring a high probability of kill even against agile, well-protected targets. Furthermore, the AIM-9X Block 2 introduced a lock-on after launch capability. The missile can be launched without a lock, fly towards a target based on data from the aircraft's systems, and then activate its own seeker to find and destroy the target, a crucial feature for use with stealth aircraft like the F-22 and F-35. Today, the Sidewinder remains an indispensable tool for air superiority. From its humble, unofficial beginnings at China Lake, it has evolved into the most advanced short-range air-to-air missile in the world. Its legacy is one of continuous innovation, battlefield-proven reliability, and tactical dominance. It fundamentally changed the rules of air combat, moving the dogfight from the close-in realm of cannons to the fast-paced, high-tech arena of guided missiles. For fighter pilots around the world, the distinctive shape of the Sidewinder on their wings is a symbol of lethal power, a testament to the brilliant vision of William McLean and the generations of engineers who perfected his revolutionary idea.